Alright, what's up guys? VV back with another video, another One Piece video. Gonna be going over a deck that did very well, first place, in a pretty large tournament. Hang on, we got this music a little loud, don't we? Let's go and adjust that real quick. We're just rocking out there. Okay. So, back to what we were doing here. So we had a Doflamingo deck that ended up getting first place in a regionals Gen Con. And the list looks very clean, guys. It's a pretty solid list. And first we're going to talk, we're going to say what all's in the deck, and then we'll go over each card real quick and just kind of get a feel for what's going on. So, all right, let's go ahead and go through it. So the leader, of course, is Doflamingo. This is the standard OP01 blue Doflamingo, where you attach two Dawn, and swing. All right, so we'll talk about all this in a second. Okay, then we have 4 Draco Mihawk, 2K counter, 4 of the Gecko Moria, 1 Trafalgar Law. I think he has another Gecko Moria down here, the vanilla one, but this is the one with the effect, the 4-cost on-play effect. Okay, then we have 3 of the Pacifista, 1 Marshall D. Teach, 4-cost, Doflamingo 3-cost, the blocker with the on-play to arrange your top 5, 4 of the 9-cost Dracul Mihawk, that's the big hitter in the deck, very strong card, 4 of the Boa Hancock blocker, 4-cost 5,000 power, 1K counter blocker, and then we have 4 Bartholomew Kuma. He is the blocker, and on KO, you add the Pacifista from your hand to the, you play it from your hand, excuse me. And then you have 4 Perona, 3 of the 4-cost 5,000 power Jinbei, 1,000 counter. This is the one. This is a promo card. We'll probably talk a little bit about the price because it has really shot up since this deck has won. But this is the one that has on KO, place up to 1 character with the cost of 3 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. Very powerful effect. For those who don't know, whenever you can bottom deck a card, it gets around all, KO effects. Like cards like Fukuro and Borsellino are very resilient because, guess what? You can't KO them by effects. Well, an effect that just bottom decks them doesn't care about that. It's like, okay, I won't KO it, I'll just get rid of it. So, very powerful there. And he's a 5,000 life, or 5,000 power beater, so he can just start swinging. So then we have 3 Gecko Moria, the 4-cost, 6,000 power, 1,000 counter vanilla character. 4 Kaya, 2K counter, 3 Love Beam, 1 Gum Gum Rain, and 3 3,000 Worlds. Okay, and that is the whole list there. The player's name was Kiko Alvarado, and this was on 8/3/2023. So, pretty solid list, pretty straightforward list. For those who don't know, let me just read through Doflamingo before I go any further. He has attach 2 on him and pay 1 when attacking, and you reveal 1 card from the top of your deck, and if that card is a 7 Warlords of the Sea type character card with a cost of 4 or less, you may play that card rested. Okay, so it comes right off the top of the deck, straight into play, rested, if it is a 7 Warlords of the Sea that costs 4 or less. And we have a lot of options we can hit with that. Technically, Dracul Mihawk, the 4-cost, but this is really meant to be a 2K counter. But I will say, when attacking, that effect is nice. Attach 1 Dawn, so he swings for 6,000, and you'll draw 2 and discard 2. Very powerful effect to cycle through. Gecko Moria is, of course, another target in the deck for the Doflamingo's ability. And his on play, and remember, if you actually hit him off the trigger with Doflamingo, he comes into play, so you will get this effect to add 1 7 Warlords of the Sea or Thriller Bark Pirates type character with a cost of 4 or less other than Gecko Moria from your trash to your hand. So, very powerful. This is directly in line with the leader's ability. So, as you're losing characters that are being thrown down, this, Gecko Moria can just grab them back for you. Now, he grabs it back to your hand. It doesn't come back into play, but you'll be able to replay it then. Because remember, when you play your Doflamingo, or when you use his ability and you get the effect, yes, you're cheating a character into play, quote unquote, but they're coming into play rested, so they will be, somewhat easy to deal with. So having a card like Gecko Moria just gives you so much staying power and resilience, right, and card advantage. One single tech Trafalgar Law. This is a 7 Warlords of the Sea, of course, so you can use this from your leader's ability. He's just a 1 cost, 1,000 power blocker with no counter. He just runs a single one of those. Very nice. Pacifista cannot be used with the leader's ability, but that's okay. He's just a biological weapon in Navy, but that's, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. He can. There are other reasons to run Pacifista in the deck with Bartholomew Kuma, so hold tight before we get to that. Okay, Marshal D. Teach, he's a 4 cost, 4,000 power, 1,000 counter, 7 Warlords of the Sea, so you can cheat him into play. And he has on play, return 1 character with a cost of 3 or less to the owner's hand. Okay, so it is return 1 character with a cost of 3 or less to the owner's hand. So you can do this to your own characters, right, if you need to. I'm sure that doesn't come up quite as much, but it does have that utility. And he's just running this as a 1-of as well. He's got quite a few little tech 1-of cards, like the 1 cost blocker, Trafalgar Law, Marshal D. Teach, and, well, that was actually it for the 1-ofs, but then he's got a bunch of 3-ofs with Jinbei and the vanilla Gecko Moria and the Pacifista. Very cool. Next, we have Doflamingo, just a sturdy blocker that allows you to look at your top 5 cards. So Doflamingo and Perona, this is the fuel that makes the deck run. These have the same exact ability. You look at the top 5 cards of your deck, rearrange them in any order, then return them to the top or bottom of the deck. Excuse me. So this is what's allowing you now, this is the exact same effect on Doflamingo, the card we just looked at, the 3 cost blocker. Excuse me. This is the exact same effect as Perona. You're looking at the top 5 cards of your deck, and then you're putting them in the correct order so that you will always hit your reveal card with Doflamingo's ability. Right? Because remember, this is a 3 Dawn investment, and you get a 4 Dawn out of it. Like you're swinging for 7K, and for that 3 Dawn investment, you're getting a potential 4 cost out of it. Well, the thing is, it's no longer a potential 4 cost when you're running cards like Perona and Doflamingo here, and he's running 4 of each. These are just going to let you set the top 5 cards of your deck. So, let's just say you play this card on turn 2, like with 3 Dawn. Let's say you're playing on the curve as well. Let's say you have 5 Dawn, right? Or you have 3 Dawn. You play this card, and you're going to make it where the first card of the deck is just going to be a card you want to draw, because you're going to pass turn after this, right? And then the second card you're going to want to be a 7 Warlords of the Sea card that you'll be able to use with your leader's ability, right? And then the third card will be a card you want to draw, and the fourth card will be another Warlords of the Sea, right? Or something along those lines, depending on how you choose to play. If you plan on drawing a card from like a Love Beam, you have to take things into consideration, of course. But long story short, you're just going to set your deck so that you can always get the card you need on top with your leader's ability. Because all of these cards are targets in the deck, except for Dracula Mihawk. Yes, he is a 7 Warlords of the Sea, but he is a 9 cost, so we can't cheat him into play. That would be broken. I think that would be broken. So speaking of him, we might as well knock that out since he's up next. He's a 9 cost, 9,000 power, just absolute beater in the deck, a bruiser who has an on play to place a character with a cost of 7 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. So you're bottom decking whatever their character is that costs 7 or less. That is extremely powerful. Okay. Next up is Boa Hancock. This says unknown. I think it's just from this site. Hang on one second, guys. I'm starting to wonder now if that one card was also a 7 Warlords of the Sea. Which card was it? Pacifista? I gotta check now. Now I'm starting to second guess myself. Okay, Pacifista is not. It is a biological weapon. But Boa Hancock should be a 7 Warlords of the Sea. And it is. It is. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why it says unknown on here, but this is 100% a 7 Warlords of the Sea. Which is just a nice 4 cost, 5,000 power blocker that has Dawn ×1. When you're attacking or when you're blocking, draw 1 card. And if there are 5 or less cards in your hand, Excuse me. Well, I guess in my mind I'm reading if there's 5 or less cards in your hand, you get to draw a card when you're attacking or blocking with 1 Dawn invested. Very strong card. 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1k counter. This is like the Borsellino stat line, a very strong stat line in one piece. The 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1,000 counter blocker with an effect. Each color has its own version of this. So very strong, very powerful. Okay, next up is Bartholomew Kuma. He is a 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1,000 counter blocker as well, and his effect is on KO, play up to 1 cost 4 or lower Pacifista from your hand. Okay, and that is where this card comes in handy. It's just kind of a way to generate momentum, generate tempo. Think about it like this: if you get a really crazy pull, you can get this off the top of your deck. And if you have a Pacifist in hand, you're swinging for 7,000 for 3 Dawn, playing a 4 cost and a 4 cost, a 5k and a 6k. Just very, very powerful potential interaction there. But even without that, excuse me, it's on KO. What am I talking about? I was like, wait a minute, that's not possible. Yeah, it's on KO. But either way, so if you play this, if you cheat this kind of play and they attack into him, no big deal. Now you get the Pacifista onto the board. So very strong. Still very strong regardless. Perona we already talked about. Same exact idea. This is a 1 cost version of Doflamingo, right? But it's not a blocker. I will say that. It's just 1 cost 2k, 1,000 power with Doflamingo's effect. Yeah, not much to talk about there. Jinbei. So at the time of me recording this, just going to give you guys an idea. This is a promotional card, and this is one of the problems I do have with promotional cards personally. This card, at the time, like I said, of me recording this, is... Oops, hang on. Won't let me bring it over. Is $94. So that's a serious issue. These are Japanese versions that are super cheap. I wish they would fix this immediately. Things like this. It does make someone like me not want to, continue into a game if I know there are cards like this. Now, fortunately, this is the only card I've ever seen do this in one piece in my time playing it. I mean, maybe it happened back in OP01 before I started, because I started in OP02, but this is absolutely unacceptable and is hopefully going to be fixed as soon as possible. But again, I don't know how fast they can fix it. I don't know how they can go about doing that, but I'm just saying that is a serious issue in my personal opinion. Is there a way to replace this card? Like, I would say potentially yes, there is, but it's nothing's ever same as the card that you actually, design the deck to go around. But here's all I will say. There is a very similar card to this. I'm just going to drag it over. No, it's not the same. I don't want to hear people say that it is. I'm not saying that. But this is a 4 cost, 2,000 power, just to put things in perspective. This Jinbei here, this is a 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1,000 counter, whereas this one's just a 4 cost, 2,000 power, is no counter. But this card has place 1 character on play. Place 1 character with a cost of 3 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck, and this one has the on KO to do that, right? And this one can be cheated into play from the trigger. So, but the biggest problem is this one is a 7 Warlords of the Sea. This one is not, right? So that's the big issue there. There is no 100% way to replace this card, unfortunately. This card is just extremely powerful. Yeah, but that's okay. I will say this: the ability is nice, but again, it's not about just the ability; it's the synergy with the deck. You're looking at a 5,000 power. It's got a 1,000 counter. It has the keyword we need. It's a lot of things, but just to see the price difference here, you're looking at this like 35 or 5 cents, excuse me, for this one, whereas the this one's just crazy. Okay. All right, it is what it is, though. All right, so moving on. This card is going to be, and it is luckily only a 3 of, but at the same time, I would just recommend running something here that has the 7 Warlords of the Sea and has a 5,000 power at 4 or less with a 1k counter. That's your best chance of replacing this card. And again, I can never stress enough, you aren't replacing this card. That's all I'm going to say. Some people might disagree with me on that, and please, if you do disagree, add something in the comment section below talking about it. Because if I were to go about changing this card out, I would actually go up a Pacifista, probably, go up a Gecko Moria, and I don't know, maybe go up 3,000 Worlds because it's got the similar idea of like removing a character. Actually, that is what I would do, I think. I personally would go, you know, if I couldn't afford Jinbei, is I would go up a Gecko Moria, up a 3,000 Worlds, and then one more card, maybe even a Martial D Teach, something along those lines. Okay, so let's keep going. And again, if you have any ideas in the comment section below, please do share them on what you would recommend for replacing Jinbei. And again, it's fully understood that you can't really replace cards that are in the set with other cards because each card is pretty unique outside of vanillas. Okay, next is Gecko Moria, 4 cost, 6,000 power, 1,000 counter. This is just an absolutely vanilla card, but it only costs 4, and it is a 7 Warlords of the Sea. Okay, so you're going to be able to cheat this into play with your leader's ability. Excellent. That's a 6,000 power character for 3 Dawn, essentially, because of the way Doflamingo works. Okay, Kaya, this is just a 2k counter, but if you're in a crunch, you can absolutely, you can pay 1, draw 2, trash 2. Excellent cycle effect. Excuse me. Next up, we got 3 Love Beams. This is a, 2 cost, 4,000 power counter, and then if you have 3 or less cards in hand, draw one. So that's, just outstanding. It doesn't have any trigger, unfortunately, but that's just how powerful this card is. It doesn't really need one. It's going to draw you a card, realistically speaking. 1 Gum Rain, just another tech card, 0 cost counter. You may trash 1 card from your hand. Your leader or up to one of your characters gains plus 3,000 power during this battle. Okay, this is a 0 cost 3,000 power counter. With trigger, return up to 1 character with a cost 2 or less to the owner's hand. I don't think the trigger's as incredible. But that effect is very nice because there are some cards in the deck that don't have a counter, right? Not many, actually. There aren't many. Jeez. Actually, there's almost none. There's almost none. So, the only cards I see without counters are this Trafalgar Law and, of course, the 9-cost Mihawk. So one nice thing about Gum Rain is if you're playing against a deck that you're just not going to get a chance to drop your Mihawk against, well, no big deal. Or if you got 2 Mihawks, right, you can use this to discard 1 and get a 3k counter out of it. And last but not least, we have 3,000 Worlds. Place up to 1 character with a cost 5 or less at the bottom of its owner's deck. And the trigger is a 3 or less at the bottom of its owner's deck. Just a solid removal event. So yeah, guys, this deck, this is a very clean list. It's pretty similar to most Dofi lists that I've seen. I think there was even a list, let me see, that came out just recently. I think it's a little bit different, of course. Everyone's got their own little spin on it. Like they're running the Alvidas as a 2k counter. That's just a 2k counter, guys. I guess you could technically play it. Dawn, yeah, I don't know. I would not. I don't know. It's good for getting like Fukuro out of the way, right? If they have a blocker down that you want to get rid of. And if they're playing Fukuro, they're probably going to be playing a little more defensively, so maybe you don't need to use your 2k counter. So this is an option, right? This is a possibility. And another 2k counter is not a bad idea for your for using in the place of your Jinbeis if you can't afford them. Just going up 2k counters. But I will say this, I would rather just have the 4 Kayas instead, because this deck list only runs 2. So I would rather just go with the 4 Kayas. That's just me personally. But yeah, this is a slightly different list, but still very similar. Still very similar. And let me look at one more list down here, just to kind of give an idea. They're all roughly the exact same premise. Now, this guy runs the 6 cost, 8,000 power, 1,000 counter, vanilla Mihawks. Just a great bruiser card. And awesome artwork as well. So, very cool. But yeah, other than that, pretty similar list. Right, guys, I'm not going to ramble on too much about that. Let me bring the list back up to end on. If you guys have any comments or anything you want to add, something I might have missed, please help me out, by all means. I think this is a really fun looking deck to play. I might have to give this a try at some point. And I don't have Jinbeis at the time we play. I don't typically play blue decks, to be completely honest. I would have to order some Mihawks. I'd have to order quite a few of these cards, like Boa Hancock. I think I only have like a few of these. Maybe even just 1 or none, actually. I have 3,000 Worlds. I have a bunch of these cards, but Yeah, I'd have to order some cards just to play it. But again, blue's not really my style. We'll see though. We will see. I like to have decks available so that I can play whenever I'm in the mood. But might have to, at least in the meantime, I might have to proxy these up so I can maybe do a little video on how it plays out or how it feels. So all right, guys. Hope y'all enjoyed. If you got any questions, by all means ask. If I missed anything, tell us. We're all learning together here. I'm not perfect by any means. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, guys. Peace.